guest speaker to greet today, and I know most of us are very familiar with him, but not in this role. Patrick Sanders began in Unity in 1986, and he's the father of 3 sons who were all raised in Unity. I remember meeting them all as boys. Time flies. But he spent the first 14 years at Boulder Unity, where he met David Ridge, our minister here. And after David left for ministerial school, Patrick spent almost 2 years at Columbine Unity before joining David Ridge here when he founded Living Water Unity. David invited Patrick to be on the foundation board of Living Water. I've known you so long, but I'm reading this to get it right, Sean. And once Living Water was up and running, he served another 13 years on the Living Water board. In his 32 years in Unity, Patrick's taken most of the classes available and has facilitated A Course in Miracles after taking the course 2 times. So please welcome Patrick Sanders.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Father's Day. So when I first accepted this opportunity to speak here, I didn't realize it was going to be on Father's Day. So the name of the talk that came to me was Shake It Off. But we'll incorporate that into a Happy Father's Day message as well. In fact, this is my dad right here, I hope, coming up on the screen. Monica. Monica. Is the mic working by the way?
Yeah, there he is.
There he is. And I show you my dad for a couple of reasons. We seem to learn a lot from our parents or father figures, since it's Father's Day, we speak of fathers or father figures. We learn not just from what they do, from what they say, from their examples, and you learn a lot from them that way. And so you might notice I've been growing my hair out a little bit there. And my dad has dementia now. And I learned a little bit about dementia. It's not necessarily a disease, but it's something that is probably best exemplified by Alzheimer's disease, loss of memory, doing things on a daily basis like hygiene, getting your hair cut. So Dad, who has always been clean cut, now has hair probably down to here. And he thinks he got it cut a few weeks ago. And so I told him when I was home for Christmas, I said, Dad, I'm going to grow my hair out until you cut your hair. So I'm having fun and I'll see him in a few weeks now. So hopefully he notices that my hair is long. We can have the best conversations about anything and everything except for what he had for breakfast yesterday, today. I mean, just a short-term memory that goes away on that. So leading by example. And not just by words. So not just what to do, but not what not to do. I've never seen my dad drunk. I have a couple beers, never seen him drunk. Hard-working man, bricklayer. Gone 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, didn't get home about that time in the evening. So great work ethic. His best cuss words ever I've ever heard him say was, "Dadgummit," and "son of a gun." Never heard the S word, the F word, nothing else. That was as bad as it got with Dad. So we knew he was upset when he said any of those words there. And then he quit smoking at 45 just like that. I thought, wow, so later on in life I had been smoking for a little bit. I said, Dad, how'd you do it? He says, I just decided, and you have it in your brain. You can do this. I thought, wow. So I quit just like that. And it worked out really well. Then after my divorce, I started smoking a little bit more, again, after not smoking for almost 20 years. I started smoking again, and then I noticed one of my boys was smoking. And I says, Sean, what are you doing, man? It's bad for your lungs. Well, Dad, you smoke. Well, let's quit. I can't quit. I've tried it. I've got the patch. He's telling me these things. And I said, you know what my dad told me? It's all right here. He says, matter of fact, I quit right now. And I quit. He goes, wow. A few weeks later, you still quit? I says, yeah. So after that, he quit, just like that. So another dad lesson, just that he probably never knew that he taught me, or Sean for that matter. And then just leading by example, compassion. My mom had a stroke many years ago, and she was paralyzed on half her body. She couldn't talk. They wanted to put her into a hospice, and Dad refused. He says no. He got a hospital bed. He put it in her bed, made a bedroom for her, put him in that, had a little thing that went underneath her in a hospital bed, and he had looked like an engine crank, an engine puller, but just pulled it up, picked her up out of bed so he could bathe her, he could change her. I mean, she could move one part of her body so she could feed herself. But he got a van with a lift so that he could take her on drives out to the beach because she loved the beach. Wheelchair, of course, read to her every day, had the monitor, no matter where he was. He was out in the garden working, he had the monitor so he could listen to her. He did this for 8.5 years. So again, another lesson I learned from Dad is compassion and love and family. Friends may come and go, but family is forever. And then the story of actually one of the verbal lessons I learned from Dad. And he was a bricklayer, a guy back in that time. Didn't talk a lot. But one time we were camping. We used to go up to Bucks Lake all the time. Beautiful lake, fishing, boating, hiking. And we were kids. We were teenagers. And went up there, and we'd go up to the lodge every night. Mom and Dad stayed at the cabin, and we'd go up to the lodge, and they had pinball machines and a pool table and other kids. And so me and my two of my sisters were hanging out there, and we're walking back to the cabin. It's probably maybe a third of a mile down a dark road, no lights, just a dirt road. And we're smoking a cigarette. We're sharing a cigarette, 16, 17 years old I was, and one was older, one was younger. And there's people coming towards us, but Mom and Dad had never come to meet us before, in all the years we've been going up there, and sure enough, it's Mom and Dad. Who's smoking that cigarette? Oh, my God. So I took the cigarette, put it behind my back, and I crumbled it up in my hand, and I put the butt in my pocket, because I did not want to get caught smoking a cigarette. And so, obviously, they weren't too happy about that. The next morning, Dad and I always get up early, and we go fishing, and he says, Mother's still pretty upset about this. And, I think that she wants to go home right now. She wants to leave today. And we still had over a week left. And he said, well, if you can give us your word that you'll quit smoking until you're 18, then I might be able to talk her into staying. He says, but do you know what giving your word means? I says, yeah, promise not to. He goes, no, it's not just that. He says, your word is the only thing somebody can't take from you. And they can take your life. They can take your belongings. I mean, you can lose things, but you can't. Nobody can take your word. You have to give somebody your word. So if you give somebody your word, come heck or high water, honor that commitment or say, I'll do my best, but don't give your word. So obviously, I taught that to my kids. I took it to heart. I didn't smoke until I was 18, and probably a little after that, actually. And then, of course, you learn from examples of what they don't do. And my dad back then, I don't know if it just wasn't cool or what, he never said he loved me. Never said he was happy with what I was doing. He was proud. I was doing a good job. And we never got all the accolades. And it didn't happen until Mom had her stroke. In fact, Dad never even called me. He's called me on the phone twice in his life, and he's 90 years old. And both times were after Mom had her stroke. I still call him every week, but he hasn't called me. And so I make sure that I tell my boys every time I talk to them, every time I text them, if I email them, I love you. And we got it going back and forth. It's just something that feels so good inside to know that you're loved. You guys ever remember the song Cats in the Cradle? And when you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, we'll get together then. Well, it's kind of like that now. My boys are 30, 25, and 20. And so it's hard to catch up with them anymore. But I tell you what, I love those boys forever. I mean, it's in my heart. And so with the thought of positivity and being involved in unity as long as I have, when Sean was born, my oldest was born, I started formulating this prayer, and it came, it formulated over a couple years' time, and I call it Patrick's Prayer. And so it's, dear God, please bless my boys with health above everything else, wealth, knowledge, freedom, justice, courage, wisdom, intelligence, leadership, kindness, gentleness, confidence, honesty, happiness, respect, safety, security, peace, and love, and a willing, wanting, working, practicing knowledge of your golden rule to treat others as you would like to be treated. In the name of your Son, our elder brother, away, show Jesus the Christ. And to this we say amen. And every night when I said the night, I knelt beside their bed, we said our prayers, and I always said this. And even now when they're not with me, I say it every single night. And that health is not just physical health, it's emotional health, it's spiritual health. It's health in every aspect, financial health. And that, I guess that's just the way that I think it worked, because they all seem to be pretty confident who they are. And of course, I screwed up as a father. I remember one time, Sean and I were out in the backyard. He might have been 5 years old. and we're throwing the ball. And I'm trying to teach him, because we're in this baseball camp too, how to throw the ball properly. And well, first he's goofing around a little bit, and he throws the ball over the fence. I jump over the fence, get the ball. The second time, he throws it over the fence, and he's laughing about it. It was the third or fourth time I said, Sean, I said, that's not, if you don't learn how to throw the ball right, let's just not do this. And I went in the house. Bad mistake, right? And so later that night, I went into his room. I said, Sean, you know, there is no book on how to be a dad to you, and there's no book on how to be a son to me, and I've never done this before, and I'm going to make mistakes. But make sure, if I make a mistake, tell me. Because sometimes I just don't know. Sometimes you don't know how they feel, because everybody's such an individual child. And so he said, okay, Dad. And so a couple months later, and I forgot what happened. I wish I could remember this part, but he goes, hey, Dad, remember that talk we had? I'm only 5 years old. And so another story, hopefully he takes if he has any kids, you know, as he gets older in a relationship. I read something maybe a little alarming recently. I read that 1/3 of America is unhappy. Maybe some form of depression, just not happy. That's over 100 million people. And it's kind of scary, because I go through bouts when I'm not happy. I thought, what might that be? And one thing I know has changed is the 24-hour media has kind of turned into the 24-second media. And it's not just television anymore. It's newspapers. It's the internet. It's everywhere. You know, it's on Facebook. It's on your phone. It tells you about all that stuff. But it was just, you know that old saying, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead? And I really am convinced that that sells the advertising, right? The more people watch the TV or whatever form of media it is, it sells the advertising. And so my question is, how much do we really need to hear? Do we need to hear every single negative thing that happens? I mean, some of these shootings, and these killings and all that stuff, it's just, I'm not sure. But do you guys remember the song I've been asking people for years? There was a song that came out in the 80s, and it was about No Bad News Today. Does anybody remember that song? I couldn't remember who wrote it. I thought it was Joan Collins, maybe Anne Murray. Well, I found the song. And Monica's going to play it for us, aren't you, Monica? We're having technical fun with the computer today, so. Go ahead and reduce that. There we go. She'll get it. Want some help? Okay. Sound familiar to anybody? I used to love that song even way back when. Clarence, do you remember that song? Yeah. No? Yeah, I just thought, for whatever reason, it always resonated with you. But it's still true. We're still seeing the same stuff on the TV, but we're getting bombarded with it. And maybe that's one of the reasons that the people aren't as happy. So back to the talk title, shake it off. Get rid of the bad news. You know, you can't dwell on that. You know, we may not have everything we want, but we have everything we need. We may not have what we want, but we have everything we need. And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow. But look at third world countries. I mean, they're happy when they did the soccer ball draft over in Iraq or Iran. We dropped a bunch of soccer. That's all the kids had to play. They don't have Nintendos. They don't have electric games. They don't have electric games or TVs or anything. They're just happy with what they have and minimal food. So we always have what we need, but may not what we want. And what we have to remember is we're perfect the way we are. God created the universe, the multiverse, the Milky Way, black holes, stars, constellations, the sun, our moon. I mean, everything, trees, oceans, flowers, snowflakes, and not two are alike. Fingerprints, DNA, the same thing. God doesn't make mistakes. We do. I think that's part of the lesson in life. God made us perfect just the way we are, regardless of race, creed, color, sex, national origin, age, religion, sexual preference. We're perfect the way we are. We have to remember that we are perfect just the way we are. So question, if we're made in the image and likeness of God, if we're truly love, because God is love, why do we let these things upset us so much? I mean, that's really a tough question. I know for me, I was talking to Mark and Sharon a couple of weeks ago about sometimes it's people on the highway that upset me. You know, they cut you off, they're going too slow, they're tailgating. I have to take a deep breath. I have to shake it off and remember that we are perfect. We're a holy child of God. You know, it doesn't matter if they cut us off. I mean, really, is it going to take us another 2 seconds to get to our destination? Can we leave 5 minutes early so we don't have to worry about this stuff? And these people could be going because they get told by their boss, if you're late again, you know, you're going to get fired. Or maybe their kid's sick, they got to pick them up for school. I mean, we don't know why it is, but we need to be the ones that are love. We need to shake it off. And now, on this next video here, you guys hear of Nick Vujicic? Nick was very inspirational. And we talk about what we always have, what we want, maybe not what we always have what we need, but maybe not what we want. This is Nick. We're going to watch another short video here.
see the light of God in you. And I climb through life to be with you, oh holy child of God. I see the light of God in you, the light of God comes shining through, and I would like to be with you, oh holy child of God. I see the light of God in you, the light of God comes shining through, and I would like to be with you, oh holy child of God.
Not just exist. While we may make mistakes, these mistakes are to learn from, not to judge or be judged. Others may see our mistakes, or us theirs. Let us remember, we're here to learn, to love, in the image and likeness of God. When we become upset with another, we remember that we are a holy child of God, that we're not any better than them. Let us both be the lesson and learn the lesson. Let us be shining examples of God's love. Ego, edging God out. We choose to use ego as our teacher. We understand that unkind words may be forgiven, but rarely forgotten. Like a plate that we drop on the ground and break. We can glue it back together, but it'll never be the same. So instead, count to 5 or 10 before saying something unkind or mean. By doing this, we are leading by example. As long as we're still in this human experience, our journey's not over. Beginning tomorrow morning, we will set our alarms just 1/2 hour earlier than usual. We will choose to wake up invigorated, excited, knowing that we will begin creating so that we can say in earnest, I am doing fine. I am awesome. I am living the dream. As we come back from this meditation, let us sing the Lord's Prayer.